Hey, what's up guys? Rob here and I'm back with a brand new video. Going to be starting a new series today called Remake versus Original. Something I've been wanting to do for a while, basically where I take a movie that has been remade and I'm going to compare it to the original. Pretty simple. So, we're going to start with Dawn of the Dead. Remake versus Dawn of the Dead original. Now, I think it's pretty easy to say which one I favor, and that is the original. Hands down, it's my favorite zombie movie of all time. But I have to give props to the remake and to Zack Snyder, because he created something that's similar yet different. One of the things I loved about the original is the whole mall scene. The fact that there's a zombie outbreak and these survivors take refuge in a mall, and they close down the mall, block the doors, clear out everything that's, inside the mall as far as zombies go. And they basically live there. They, go through the stores, they, play video games when they're bored, grab a bunch of food and, take it up to where they're living, which is kind of on top of the mall, like upstairs. And I just loved that idea because the mall became a character. And it's something that I always wanted to do. Like, when I was younger, I loved going to the mall. And I did imagine, hey, what if we had this mall all to ourselves? What would we do? I love that concept. In the remake, the mall is not even a major thing. It does exist, and Zack Snyder made it to where, it relates to the original as far as them taking refuge in a mall. But the mall is nothing like, it's kind of a modernized mall. It's nothing like the one in the original. So it's, the mall is just kind of like a backdrop, so to say. They don't really do anything special. I mean, there is a montage in the remake where they, they're riding bikes around the mall. So some people are even, having sex and watching movies and just playing golf or basketball. Like there's different things they're doing in the mall, but it was just a quick montage to kind of relate, like I said, to the first movie, which I think did it better, or the original. But things that I like about the remake is that they do a lot of things different. Like the whole beginning with Sarah Polley's character, her and her fiance or whatever are sleeping, and this girl comes into the room and bites her fiance, and that's when the whole zombie breakout happens. And you get to see it from her perspective. I mean, she leaves the house and she's driving and there's just chaos. There's people dying, people screaming, people running, cars crashing, there's explosions. There's so much going on in the perspective, from her car, or like, from her, maybe looking out of the window. There's so many things that were awesome about how this movie started. Because, when I saw this in the theater, I was expecting it to be maybe a complete ripoff of this movie. Because even at that time, I thought this movie was fantastic, the original. So, I was kind of expecting this to blow my mind, so to say. The movie really didn't blow my mind. I thought it was good for what it accomplished. For being different, yet throwing in some things that can relate to the original. It wasn't a complete copy, kind of like Psycho with Vince Vaughn. Complete copy. But, the mall wasn't even a big deal in the remake. You have a bunch of survivors taking refuge there, but what I loved that they didn't do in the original, I love the whole thing where the survivors are on top of the roof in the mall and they look out across the parking lot and there's this gun shop that is like, blocks and blocks away. You can see it, if you look through your binoculars, you can see clearly that there's a guy standing on top of the roof across the parking lot. And so in between them is a parking lot and zombies. Okay, and this guy named Andy, he's standing there on top of the roof and he's holding up signs trying to get people's attention because he knows there's people over at the mall. And so they're communicating back and forth by holding up this sign and writing stuff on this board so they can see, you know, they can talk to each other, communicate back and forth. There's even at one point they play a game, like a shooting game. They write a name down and then they look through the zombies and see if they can find who the zombie looks like, Burt Reynolds or Rosie O'Donnell, and they shoot them. And they make a game out of it. It's brilliant. That was brilliant. I loved it. That whole thing with Andy was fantastic. They even have a cool special feature on here that I love watching, and it's called the Lost Tape. Over 15 minutes of terrifying footage. And basically it's a home movie of Andy's last horrific days. So what's cool about that is you got to see Andy through the survivor's perspective across the way. But this documentary right here, or this footage that's revealed, shows you Andy's perspective of the people over at the mall. So you get to see what's going on in Andy's head and what he's dealing with over at his gun shop. You know, he runs out of food, he runs out of water, he's got to ration what he has, and he's going, you know, he's using his ammunition to take zombies out. And he's also going through some personal things in his life. That was a really cool thing. I love seeing that as like a special feature or like a deleted thing. That was really cool. But it's like that, you know. They also in the remake they don't stay at the mall. You know, they get in buses and they soup them up and they try to leave to get to this boat. So that's different too. This movie is not a complete rehash of this movie, which I think that's great. If you can make it different, but still keep it within, you know, like, in relation to the original by, you know, maybe some nods here and there. Just to show that it's, you know, kind of like the same movie, but it's not. I really like that. In my opinion, the best one that, you know, the movie that did it the best was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They pulled that movie off. That's one that I'm definitely going to be talking about soon. But as far as Dawn of the Dead, the original is hands down my favorite, but the remake was a damn good attempt, in my opinion. So, what do you guys think? Remake versus original. What do you think is better? Let me know in the comments. And better yet, if you think one is better, explain why. If you want to do a video response, please do so. Otherwise, list it in the comments. Very fun series. Definitely going to be doing more of these, so stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This is Rob signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next one.